Sent from Disneyland, history in our hand. So much to say about yesterday and the decades we have spanned. Postcards from the park, this journey will embark. See what has changed and what remains on Sent from Disneyland. Sent from Disneyland.
Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland, Disneyland history, and more, with mementos, snapshots, souvenirs, and postcards sent from Disneyland, from 1955 to the present. Let's start by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in at any level to support the show and receive snail mail from my trips to Disneyland and from my desk, plus some sneak peeks and bonus content. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the rest of the e-ticket patrons, Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Bill Dreffel, Scott Cagle, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Angela Reynolds, Grace Coate, Patty Wolin, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron Joshua Bell, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Angel DeBlock, and the Beyond the Railroad podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has a view of the submarine lagoon from the top of the Matterhorn. You can see Monorail Red passing over a gray sub, the motorboats and the Autopia cars, and the tops of some Skyway buckets. On the back it reads, Tomorrowland, a panoramic view of Disneyland's Tomorrowland as seen from the Matterhorn Mountain. The monorail crosses over the submarine lagoon, and the Autopia freeways of the future can be seen on the right and left. It's postmarked August 9, 1965, with the Woodland Hills cancel and a 4-cent Lincoln postage stamp, Scott number 1036. I assume they visit the park on Sunday, August 8, 1965, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 95 and a low of 65. Park attendance that day was 37,599. It's addressed to Mrs. Eliza Southworth of New Bedford, Massachusetts. It reads, We went here and rode in this. Having a lovely time, Ethel. This week I wanted to go back and revisit the 1965 edition of the Walt Disney's Disneyland book. For a book with just under 70 pages, it's filled with great photos of the park and interesting anecdotes and descriptions as well. I'm always interested in the new attractions or lands and how they are described. Many changes are made from the Imagineers drawing board and Blue Sky meetings to what is eventually put in the park. Most notably were the changes made for Pirates of the Caribbean, starting as a wax figure walkthrough in the basement of Norland Square, to the flume and audio animatronic attraction we have today. The description in the book reads, From the pages of history and legend come the notorious exploits of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Aboard flat-bottom boats, guests will journey into the moonlit blue bayou, then plunge down a water chute into the domain of the swashbuckling privateers. The daring deeds of Henry Morgan, Jean Lafitte, Blackbeard, and other highwaymen of the seas will come to life as pirates walk the plank, pillage and burn the city, and guard their looted treasure from you at sword and musket point. Based on this description, Pirates was beyond the development stages and closer to its final product. One thing mentioned which didn't make it into the ride was the pirate walking the plank. The Disneyland 10 Centennial episode of The Wonderful World of Color had a model of the attraction which included a pirate walking the plank of the Wicked Wench, the large pirate ship we see after traversing the skeleton caves in the beginning of the attraction. At some point the gag was dropped, probably due to time, money, or a technical aspect that prevented it from working. Maybe one day we'll see it added after a refurbishment or for an anniversary. The next attraction described in the book is the Haunted Mansion. Although the mansion facade had been built well before most of New Orleans Square, the attraction would not open for another 4 years after this book was published. The description reads, Nearby, overlooking the Frontierland River, an old Southern-style plantation house has already been completed and will soon be occupied by the world's greatest collections of ghosts. No frontier setting is complete without its ghosts of another day. Disneyland will not only live in a ghost town, but in this deluxe haunted mansion. Filled with 1001 illusions, this haven for restless spirits will cater to the mythological and to the metaphysical. Marble busts will talk, ordinary appearing portraits will dissolve into werewolves and evil beasts. Ghosts will move through solid walls. A museum will display weird statues, moving furniture, and surprising mirrors. There was a lot of work ahead of the opening of the Haunted Mansion. Some of the features stayed and ended up in the attraction, like the changing portraits, although the werewolf one never made it into the hallway. It's interesting that the 1001 illusions were replaced by 99 happy haunts. My assumption is that the surprising mirrors referred to either the hitchhiking ghost at the end of the attraction, or may have been part of Raleigh Crump's ideas for the Museum of the Weird, which may have just included some strange and frightening funhouse mirrors. Add some flair to your mail by checking out stamps at Enfield Post. You can explore different stamp options on our Etsy site, grab some great deals by following EP Sunday Sales on Instagram, or create something special and have her design a stamp array for your invitation or celebration. You can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has Mickey Mouse leading the Disneyland band into Town Square. Behind them you can see City Hall, and in the bottom left you can see one of the cannons that decorates the area. On the back it reads, Mickey Mouse and Disneyland Band. One of Disneyland's favorite characters, Mickey Mouse, generates excitement and activity as he leads the Disneyland band into Town Square on Main Street, where, under the direction of Vesey Walker, the band participates in daily concerts and flag retreat ceremonies. It's postmarked August 12, 1965, with a Riverside cancel and a 4-cent Lincoln postage stamp, Scott number 1036. I assume they visited the park on Tuesday, August 10, 1965, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 95 and a low of 67. Park attendance that day was 40,112. It's addressed to Miss Pat Fuller of Oakland, California. It reads, Tuesday. Dear Pat, the hotel is nice, especially the pool. There are 2 pools. The pool has a slide and a diving board. How is your installation coming along? Did you already meet with the board? Marion. Last episode we looked closely at the It's a Small World photo from the 1964 World's Fair. There are plenty more interesting photos included in this book. It is rare to see ride photos taken from inside the attraction. Towards the back of the book, there's a great image of the mine train through nature's wonderland, winding through the blue caves with springs, stalactites, and stalagmites surrounding the train track. You can see the number 3 engine heading towards the camera, followed by the yellow and brown mine cars behind it, filled with guests. A few pages earlier, there's an image of mermaids underwater looking at sunken treasure from the viewpoint of the portholes on the submarine voyage attraction in Tomorrowland. Another rare photo in this book is of the Storybook Land Canal, looking down from the Casey Jr. tracks near the miniature Pinocchio village. You can see one of the canal boats passing under one of the bridges and passing the windmills, which were replaced in 2014 by the frozen Arendelle Castle and Village. In the far distance in this photo, you can see one of the motorboats for the motorboat cruise. Some of the larger images of the book take up 2 pages, including a town square photo, which has the Santa Claus float from the Christmas parade, the Disneyland band seated and playing near the flagpole, while balloons are released from oversized gifts that are surrounding the band. The next large image is of Fantasyland from the Skyway Chalet. You can see the Skyway buckets overhead, the Dumbo attraction in its original location, the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship restaurant, and the top of Sleeping Beauty Castle. One of the unique photos of Tomorrowland is of the Douglas Moonliner rocket from the queue and loading area of the Flying Saucers attraction. You can see the curved overhead shade covering for the attraction, and looking at the details, you can see monorail yellow in the station and the Tomorrowland Jets attraction. This image appears only in the 1965 version of the book, as so much changed in Tomorrowland after 1967. My incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is a craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern or 6 Pacific. Art Throwdown is a wonderful community of artists who love to share their craft, from creating sticker postcards and coloring techniques to intricate paper cutting and unique crafting. It's always a treat to watch a show and occasionally get some one-of-a-kind postcards from the group. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has 4 images of Walt Disney World's Typhoon Lagoon. Two of the images are of signs, one for Typhoon Lagoon and the other for Castaway Creek Rafts. One of the larger images is of the wave pool under the watch of the impaled ship, the Miss Tilly, on top of Mount Mayday. The other image is of snorkelers next to an overturned ship. On the back it reads, Typhoon Lagoon, a state-of-the-art underwater adventure gives small and large fry a lot of ways to enjoy the 4 S's: surfing, snorkeling, sliding, and just splashing around. It's postmarked March 22nd, 2025, with a Cincinnati, Ohio, keep safety in view as we drive for you, USPS, new vehicle cancel, and a celebrate forever postage stamp, Scott number 5402. It reads, 22 March 2025. Hello, Clocky. Just wishing you a very happy birthday. Will you be going to Disney? Enjoy your special day that celebrates you. Nicole, at Mustard and Pickles Post. Thank you so much for the postcard and birthday greeting, Nicole. I did not go to Disneyland for my birthday, although I will be there soon as my work travel starts up again this Tuesday. I love getting these fun Walt Disney World postcards. I'm sad to report that one of the S's, snorkeling, is no longer available at Typhoon Lagoon as of October of 2016, but it is awesome to have a postcard with a little bit of history on it. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sent from Disneyland or my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney-related properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. This podcast is produced and edited by Clocky McDowell, website designed by Misty McDowell. Theme song was written and performed by Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. Take it away, Noah.